pay for their crimes. And this puppet of Putin is only the first. Russia's war criminal propagandists will all be hunted down, and justice will be served as we in Ukraine are led on this mission by faith in God, liberty, and complete liberation.
Remember how in the lead up and early days of the Ukraine war, former game show host in drag, now President Zelensky, was hailed by our government, legacy media, and even many media conservatives as a war hero, a patriot, and our partner in the fight for freedom around the world. As if the fate of freedom around the world rested on this man's shoulder pads. He was even given a standing ovation when he spoke to Congress. I forget, was that before or after he and his wife were featured in the Vogue magazine cover? Well, since then, he's come back to Congress to demand, more of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars to fund his war and ambitions. But I think the question is, where has the estimated $100 billion really gone? In a stunning, or perhaps not so stunning, new development, former National Bank of Ukraine chairman Kyrylo Shevchenko alleges that after he uncovered the Zelensky corruption, Zelensky actually retaliated against him with a false embezzlement claim, forcing him to flee to Austria. He spoke to senior reporter Patrick Howley of National File in an exclusive interview, who's here now to give us all the details he documented in his new article. Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Monica, so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love OAN, and I'm glad to get this story out there.
I think we need to. I really just want to open the floor up to you. Can you tell us about this interview?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I interviewed Mr. Shevchenko, and obviously he is being railroaded, much like President Donald Trump is being railroaded in America, because he did not want to print more money for Zelensky, which would have created more inflation, further impoverished the Ukrainian people. I then interviewed a different former Zelensky administration official who told me in no uncertain terms Zelensky has stolen U.S. taxpayer money and put it into his own personal accounts. Zelensky has taken money from Russia since the outbreak of war, which is why he's not really trying to win. You see, they're working both sides. Putin and Zelensky are basically working together. Zelensky is enriching himself, and Putin is allowing the United States to bankrupt itself because he knows that our deep state is so desperate to get into a big war with Russia. The neocons here in America think that somehow, and the Democrats, of course, Creepy Joe and Hunter Biden and the rest of them, Hunter Biden, who is actually working on behalf of Metabiota, the Ukraine biolab company, they have their tentacles all over Ukraine. They actually think that this proxy war is going to weaken Russia, but it's not. It's bankrupting the United States because so little of this money is actually going to help the Ukraine fighters. And who are the Ukraine fighters anyway? Oh, ADL-supported neo-Nazis called the Azov Battalion, who happen to be a satanic cult. Those are the people who are fighting on the front lines for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine is shelling civilians and targeting school children in Donbass. But meanwhile, Zelensky is personally enriching himself. He has Russian plants in his administration. He's using the Russian administration as a cover for his own money laundering. The Ukraine government said they were going to fix the roads. They didn't fix the roads. People said, hey, how come you didn't fix the roads? They said, oh, the Russians destroyed the roads. This is a scam. The American government is being played, and Putin and his ally China are just letting us destroy ourselves, and they're playing the long game.
You know, we forget that there is so much more going on than what the mainstream media headlines want us thinking, right? And, in reality, we the people are continuing to be robbed, blind, apparently. This is yet another massive transfer of wealth, and Ukraine has become just a playground for sick and twisted warlords to commit their human rights abuses at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. There's a massive human trafficking crisis going on in Ukraine. There's these biolabs, which, of course, are threatening the entire world. We have to get to the bottom of this. Hunter Biden was personally involved with Metabiota, which was being run by Nathan Wolfe, a colleague of Ghislaine Maxwell, the companion of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, this is so horrifying that we might get into World War III due to this corruption. The Pelosi family has engaged in all kinds of shady dealings over there in Ukraine. And so we have to look at, how do we get ourselves out of this World War III scenario? I truly believe that being able to come on OAN and get this information out to the people is what's going to do it. We need a real anti-war movement, a bipartisan anti-war movement, because the old 60s radicals like Jane Fonda, they're probably wearing Ukraine flag masks now and have Ukraine flags outside of their houses. What happened to them? What happened to their anti-war spirit? Almost nobody's trying to stop this war. Kevin McCarthy, the rhino, is plunging us ever deeper into this war, and more money gets signed off by the Republican Congress to go over there into this quagmire. It's disgusting. It's a big money grab all around, and it might get us killed.
Patrick, you are not wrong on any of this. And yet again, this regime over in Ukraine is trying to control the entire narrative and not allowing a free press to operate within the country. Isn't that a red flag? I mean, why do you think that is? Also, how are you able to get all this information?
Well, first of all, yes, you're right. Zelensky does run an authoritarian regime. And, whistleblowers told me, if you speak out against Zelensky, even on social media, they'll take you off to the gulag. It's kind of like that here in the United States of America as well, right? In terms of how I'm getting this information, I'm hustling. I'm working with a great guy, a partner in my reporting by the name of James Bradley, who's running for U.S. Senate in California, hopefully against Adam Schiff to defeat him. He's been integral in working with me on this. But it's just about the hustle, and it's about getting people who have the bravery and the courage to speak out. And this is just beginning. At nationalfile.com, this is just the first in a series that we are doing. There are more whistleblowers to come. There's so much more evidence to come. And the people have to know that Zelensky's stealing this money. The money is not going for what the politicians say it's going to.
Right, but then at the same time you have Boris Johnson, who just said, Ukraine needs more money. I mean, how big is this ultimate plan? I mean, it seems like it spans across the globe.
Well, Boris Johnson only got where he is because he looks kind of like Trump. But the globalists, the New World Order, the globalist politicians worldwide are all involved in this. They really truly believe that they can get a big NATO war against Russia. They're still ticked off that the Soviet Union fell, right? And they are still ticked off at Tsar Nicholas. There's a whole grudge there. You remember the Bolsheviks killed Tsar Nicholas's family. They've always had this desire to conquer Russia. But as anybody who's ever played Risk or studied World War II history knows, invading mainland Russia is really not a good bet for folks. It doesn't work out too well. Putin knows that. Putin also has a massive nuclear arsenal. He's allowing us to bankrupt ourselves. Meanwhile, he's manipulating Zelensky, paying Zelensky, putting Russian plants within Zelensky's administration, allegedly, and allowing the United States to get weaker and weaker. And meanwhile, people like Blinken and people like Biden have the opportunity to get rich in the private sector with their dirty deals, selling out America. But this has gone so far over the line. We're almost in World War III now. Russia is linked up with China, which never should have happened, and we have to get out of this war.
It is really, really scary. I do want to ask you one thing before you go. Do we have time to foil the globalist plans, or is it too late?
Well, I believe the people really need to take to the streets right now in order to stop this war, similar to the way that they're doing it in Europe, where you see people burning the flag of NATO. In the election of 2024, President Donald Trump has said that he can get a peace deal in under 24 hours. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has also spoken about the need for peace in Ukraine. So, yes, we still have the chance, but we've got to get this information out to people. We have to wake up the world.
Patrick Howley, thank you so much for your time today. I truly appreciate it. And thank you for the great work you're doing. I hope you'll come on again soon.
I will. Thank you so much.
We'd like to welcome you to our new home for uncensored news and hard-hitting talk shows. If you're tired of cable companies and social media giants chipping away at your most basic and important right, freedom of speech, by shadow banning, demonetizing, censoring, and policing every single one of your posts, then One America News on Locals is just what you've been looking for. Finally, you'll have the freedom to express your point of view and stay connected with like-minded fellow patriots. And the best part is, OAN on locals is only $5 a month. All of our credible, honest, unbiased reporting, ad-free talk shows, and exclusive content, all at the fraction of the cost of cable. So to watch, just click the join button to get the news you can't get anywhere else.